And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Bates and Johnson
with a cinema review.
Is Monday, May 8th, 2023, 8:03 T, and thank you all for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Review. Right before you start going on stream, but who cares about that because we got a super exciting show tonight. We are only going to be reviewing one movie, that being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn. But joining me later, we will be going down and breaking down the entire summer slate for movies coming out this summer in 2023. But enough preamble. Let's just get right into the show with our first review of the night, our only review of the night. We're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and joining me, the man who gave me my first job here in the trivia community, one of my favorite people. He's already shaking his head because I'm selling him too much, so I'm just going to bring him in. Cody Newberry. Cody, how are you doing tonight?
I mean, I'm okay. Like, I didn't give you a job last time I checked. You were a volunteer, and I appreciate you. That's it.
Thank you, Cody. Well, I say we just jump right into our review for this evening. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It is the 32nd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the third film in the Guardians trilogy now. James Gunn has already said he is not going to be doing another Guardians film. This one follows. We are right back with our characters. They're just sort of living their lives. After the events of Endgame. Essentially, we really haven't seen them since Endgame unless you saw Thor Love and Thunder, where they just showed up briefly. And in this one, Rocket's starting to not feel so great. And the Guardians decide, you know what, we need to go and help him. We start learning a little bit more about Rocket and his histories. Rocket's always kept his history a little secret, and more things are revealed throughout the movie. But Cody, before we start reviewing the movie, I just want to ask, what are your thoughts on, I'm not going to ask your whole thoughts on the MCU as a whole, but what are your thoughts on both the first Guardians movie and the second Guardians movie?
Well, anybody that knows me, you just handed me a loaded gun. No pun intended. So the first one, the cliche, no one expected it, took me by surprise. I love the first one. First one's clearly one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. The second one is an abomination, is the best way I can describe it. Based on, see, if you just want to go in there and have laughs and have a comic book movie, it's fine. But if you don't care about the characters at all, Guardians 2 completely craps all over the Guardians and makes them stand-up comedians for 2 hours with a forced dad narrative, with a waste of a character like Ego that you could have made the next big baddie for like movies to come. Kurt Russell would have been awesome throughout those movies, but instead they force it all together with like slapstick comedy. Says, oh, they thought we were funny. Like, how I picture MCU sequels going is like, man, they thought we were funny and they liked our music, so let's turn it to 200 and see what we can get. Inferior soundtrack, inferior characters, no heart, completely abandoned storylines that your characters have through Volume 2. And so, to say the least, I was very hesitant heading into Volume 3. Guardians, top 3 of MCU. Volume 2, bottom 3 of MCU for me. It is completely night and day. So, and Thor Love and Thunder did not make me excited at all. I actually thought the trailer for this movie made it look awful to me. People were like, oh, I love it. There was already some jokes in there that I'm like, this just seems forced. And we were yeah, well, when we get into it, I'm pleasantly surprised. I will say.
No, yeah, absolutely. I share somewhat similar feelings to you based on the first and second one. Just like you, I love the first Guardians movie. I wouldn't quite say top 3, but I would probably go top 5 MCU movies. I think the characters, I think it was a really great breath of fresh air with like where the MCU was then, and I think it just going back and revisiting that movie, it just feels like a warm blanket. And it weirdly feels like a nice, cool like hangout movie with how you're like discovering all these characters again. I think it does such a great job introducing you to like 5 different characters and making you care about them throughout such a short runtime. Guardians 2 was a movie I liked when I first saw it, but as I've revisited it, I've begun to like it less and less. I think the only real like true enjoyment I still get out of that movie is I think the cast is just a generally fun cast. So I think they are sometimes able to elevate the material they are given. But I do agree with you where the material they are given is clearly inferior to the first one. I think Drax was probably the character that I think suffered the most in that second movie. Like, I think really built off. They set up a lot of stuff with him in the first one, and this one, in the second one, like you said, he's essentially just like a stand-up comedian. So yeah, going to this one, I was like, I just wanted to end on a fairly good note, and personally, I think they did. You seemed like you want to say something.
Yeah, Drax is the one character that always has annoyed me in these films. The first one I love because his motives are clear. He's precise in what he does, and the one thing you're taught from right off the gate that he does not understand metaphors. They go right over his head. That's the only thing that you learn about Drax. He's not stupid. He's not a moron. He just doesn't understand basic, like when you say that's going to go over his head. He doesn't get it. No, it won't. I'll be able to catch it because he's that kind of guy. The second one, he's like sitting there with Mantis and goes,
Cody, I believe we lost you.
Oh, this will be great. Hello? Or maybe lost you? You're frozen on my screen. I may be frozen on yours. Who knows? Hello? Am I back?
Yes. You are back. We're good.
Okay. But this one, like, he's sitting there with Mantis talking about, like, oh, I had a vision of intercourse with you, and it's disgusting. That's not a joke Drax makes in the first one. And they tell me that, oh, Cody, you get it? He's been with the Guardians for 3 months at this time. He's learned all that stuff. You don't change who you are as a human being in 3 months' time. It doesn't happen. It's impossible. So it's just so frustrating because it's like, hey, you got 5 minutes to stand up, make some jokes. And in Endgame and Infinity War, he still does stupid things, but he's not the central piece, so he can do those dumb things and move on. But, like, why Gamora? That's not something he would ever say because he doesn't understand why that would be the joke. He doesn't get that. Why would he be? Like, it's so dumb when they just force him to be like, Dave, you got a great voice. You sound like an idiot. Talk like an idiot. It makes no sense. Drax is not a moron, and I can't stand when they make him a moron.
It's funny. I admittedly did laugh at that why Gamora line in it.
And a lot of people did. It's fine. I would have never guessed in 2023 that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be my favorite superhero group. And then watching these 2 films, they felt like night and day. It didn't feel like the same director. It felt like Force Awakens, Last Jedi. Regardless how you feel, those are totally different movies. They are completely different. Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 are completely different for me in character perspective.
They really are. They absolutely are. I think with Guardians 2, I think James Gunn, was feeling himself a little bit too much, and I think he just sort of got a little bit too much of an ego where, he begun to think he could do anything. And sometimes that's nice, but, I think sometimes it is important to rein it back in, which I think he definitely did, because I think of all 3 Guardians movies, Guardians 3 is easily the darkest and probably the most human of the Guardians movies up to this point. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we are finally starting to take the focus from Quill and put it on another character, that being Rocket. And honestly, all the things we see with Rocket and his backstory and why he essentially became the way he did, that really, really worked for me.
100%.
Yeah.
That was the one thing they did. So they did a few things. So there's few eye roll moments in this movie overall for me. But what they did was they brought back the heart of the Guardians. They kind of put it back on Star-Lord. They kind of made him the center, like, joke point. If there was a joke point, he was the one delivering it, which I think worked for Chris Pratt. He's the only one that could make kind of references that you would, like, joke at. No. There was moments like Rocket's backstory saves this movie for me.
Yes.
I think if you don't have the backstory, this is like an entry level or bottom tier because it gives you heart to understand such a brash character for the entire run of these 3 movies. And you understand exactly why he doesn't trust, why he doesn't love, why he doesn't let open up, why he's very reserved. And I thought it was a brilliant way to tie back into the original Guardians, and kind of close the book on these groups that have been through 3 movies together.
Yeah, throughout these 3 movies, we've gotten hints that Rocket was a test subject, that things went on with him, but we really haven't had a full in detail look and seeing everything in this movie. I don't want to get into super spoilers, but you see a lot of stuff and it's brutal to watch at points. I think this might be the hardest the hardest stuff to watch I think I've ever seen in an MCU movie. I would have to really think, but there were points where I was wincing. The villain of this movie, played by Chukwudi Iwuji, I really hope I pronounced that right. Maybe one of the most fair. Maybe one of the most hated MCU villains I think I've seen in this franchise. And I think it's just the way I'm built, where you can do all these sort of things to humans, but it weirdly hurts more when you're seeing it done to animals. And I can't quite explain why. What did you think about the villain of this movie, Cody?
No, the villain is perfect for me. I can see some people say he overacted a little bit, but I think he had to. Because overall, Ronan was hit or miss for some. Ego was great for the most part, and then this one. But his ruthlessness in this movie, I'm surprised. I think they towed the line closest to a PG-13 for a kids movie. Normally when I have kids, so normally when I show MCU movies, I'm there's some actions, it's a damn shit. They'll say some things, but nothing. They led into some brutal stuff that I'm I would have to figure out because it was affecting me. I could just imagine someone younger, but the evil villain, he says a line. It's not a spoiler for the movie, but it's basically he's God or whatever. God's not real. That's why I stepped in, or one of the, and I was that is one of the most badass villain lines ever. Is there is no God. I intervened. Was just one of awesome moment. I was just this is sweet. There's a moment in this film that literally made my jaw drop. It's near the end when you find out a lot about Rocket and they make an escape plan, and just the face, they just show it on screen. I'm just oh my God. And you just see Rocket's change. And I thought it was a risk too, because I thought a lot of characters and stuff, the marketing hinted at people going and stuff, but I thought it was to take Rocket completely out of this movie, basically, of the real Rocket, but show young Rocket. I thought it was I thought it was going to backfire at some point because he's kind of the second funniest character and kind of drives the story most time. And just to put him on the hospital bed basically the entire movie, I thought was a real bold choice. But that villain, arguably one of my favorite villains in MCU, because I think his purpose made sense, his motives made sense, and he made some ruthless choices just to make them. And I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, no, yeah. Towards the end, when, you realize the villain has been not only the plan he has been working on, you realize he's been working on another secret plan, and when you learn what he's gonna do with all these characters, you're like, and he's just so nonchalant about it. Like, he just truly believes that he is in the right. Like, no, I think this movie has a lot of bold choices. One of the other pretty bold choices I really enjoyed was when walking into this movie, I was like, okay, how long? I thought this was going to be a movie about Star-Lord trying to get Gamora's memory back. And while that's like kind of on the side, I was really happy the movie never makes that like the focal point of the film, because I think it really could have been like the easiest way for this movie to essentially go down. Cody, what did you think about that storyline between Star-Lord and Gamora?
Yeah, I thought it was that's one of the moments of Endgame I hate. I hate bringing her back because what it tied into it is because one, you killed off literally besides MJ and Peter the best love grouping couple in the MCU. Pepper and Iron Man could be close, but it's like those two were just great. Like I love they polar opposites coming together, and then you killed it off, and now you're introducing her back to her old group. I thought, I don't want to see the first Guardians play out again where he tries nonstop to try to get her back. And it kind of leaves this movie, like, not to give spoilers, but kind of leaves a peace of mind. Like, lets the past stay in the past. Like, and it was any other direction I can see this movie going. Like, if it went volume 2 directions, I see, like, them joking and, like, it ending happily for them. I think that was a very smart move by Gunn, and because Gunn also talked about losing Gamora in 2, and they talked him out of it, and then put him at the end of Infinity War, which either way works. But like, I was very pleasantly surprised what their choice was with the love story between those two.
This movie definitely feels like it's made by someone who's definitely like grown up a lot more from like 2, especially with volume 2. Like, it definitely has a lot more weight to it. Like, I think that's maybe one of my biggest complaints about volume 2 is just the weight. Like, it weirdly feels weightless. Like, you never feel like the characters are in like extreme danger, except I get Yondu dies at the end, but like, this one felt like it had a lot more stakes to it, and it was a lot more personal.
It's kind of weird that they just created Ego 2.0. Like, a creator of worlds, a creator thing. So that's why I'm saying, like, Ego shouldn't have been a one-time villain. I'm pleased with the villain that we got, but Ego shouldn't. Ego being out in one movie makes no, like, actual sense in the MCU of a person that was, like, put things in everywhere in the galaxy, has been through everything with millions of species, and like has it all, and you're telling me that he just goes out because Peter learns that he can do the same thing is like it. That's why it felt rushed. So when they introduced this character to do basically the same thing, but like when you hear Peter go find out that he put the cancer in his mom, and that like moment, to see it play out again to what he did to Rocket, like it's the same kind of thing. Like the pain is out there, but like you see it in a horrible way for Rocket, like horrible.
No, absolutely, yeah. Those scenes are heartbreaking in a way because you see how like this is Rocket, like this is all like for the moment of Rocket essentially having a memory. This is essentially what his whole life has been, and I think it really puts things into perspective. Like, at least with like Quill, like he's obviously been like this for a while, but at least he had like some form of a childhood. Rocket was always alone, and I think this movie really put that into perspective. The main Guardians team in this movie is Star-Lord, Groot, Nebula, Mantis, Gamora, and Drax. Yeah, we already tackled a few of them, but I want to get into Nebula, Mantis, and Drax. How did you think the movie handled them? Because I really loved the relationship specifically between Nebula and Mantis, how they're sort of like polar opposites in a way. Mantis was a character I was a little shaky on with Volume 2, and I think this movie finally figured out what to do with that character. How did you feel, Cody?
Well, in Volume 2, Drax and Mantis are basically Abbott and Costello, like the Great Value Walmart brand of them. They're not funny, but they think they're a hoot and a half. So they'll do things together because they're supposed to be those funny people. Like, it's annoying to me. So she does some stuff in the movies, but she's very just like how does she get on the team is how you always feel like watching it. Like, I understand her powers. I understand if she gets close enough to touch a person's face, she's beneficial as shit. Other than that, like, what the hell? But there was they kind of like focused on basically how this movie ends is very smart where they decide to go, which is why the movie is more positive for me than it should be, because they should have just ruined that. But with Mantis and Nebula showing like real moments between themselves and having like real, like almost sisterly fights, they were almost like, listen, I'm tired of your shit, you're tired of my shit, and they like have it out and like have real moments. And like even Nebula doesn't even Mantis doesn't even put up with Drax shit. Like, Drax is just like saying stuff and she's like, no. Like, normally she just go with the flow. So she kind of gets a backbone in this movie, which is kind of nice to see. And I think that's where the flesh out of all of it is. I think it works.
We might not be on the same page here, which is totally okay, but I really enjoyed what they did with Drax. I think they made him a lot more of at the very least more of a human character in this one, where like throughout the first one we learned that like Drax views himself as like this destroyer, and by the end I think Drax has finally like fully realized the purpose of him as like a person and what he was put on essentially the world to do. And I thought that was really sweet. Cody, what did you think about Drax in this movie?
No, so Drax has a few moments that make me roll my eyes. Like, he does make a few jokes, but the thing is they don't lean on him like majority of the time. Because, I mean, not to give something away, they introduce a dumber character.
Yes.
So they just arguably do. They introduce a very dumb character. I don't know how I feel about that moment. I think that's where my rating resides because of it. But, like, with his viewpoint, like, Drax has some moments, but Drax at the heart comes back to who he is as a person. He is a father. He is, like, he has those moments. He's had a wife. He has that in-heart moment with these children. And even when they do dumb things, like there's a moment where a bunch of people are talking to somebody, and then he steps in and can say exactly what he needs to and knows what they're speaking. And that's a moment that's funny in context because it works, because Drax like, oh, you didn't ask me, but I can tell you exactly what's happening. It didn't feel like blubbering idiot like moment. Like, he was sweet, he was caring when he needed to be caring, and he let down his guard to be like this monster or destroyer as it is, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Of all the moments in this film, I think the one that weirdly made me the most emotional is a scene with Drax on the High Evolutionary ship. He finds what essentially the High Evolutionary is storing, and his reaction to that weirdly hit me probably harder than I think it should have, but yeah, I really love what Drax did. Some of the characters I didn't really enjoy in this movie. I feel like what they did with Kraglin, played by Sean Gunn, and the dog, played by I don't know who voiced the dog. That definitely felt like, okay, either this was from James Gunn's head or these were Marvel notes, because that's where I feel like the stand-up special routine started to carry in. And I also wasn't like the biggest fan of the whole Adam Warlock character played by Will Poulter. He's set up in the second one, and I just don't really think he went too much anywhere. To give the audience some backstory, Adam Warlock is just essentially this character who is tasked by the High Evolutionary to take down the Guardians, but he is the one that wants to do it. Not any of the other henchmen. He is the one that has to take down the Guardians. Didn't really think that played out super well. What do you think about Kraglin and Adam Warlock?
So I 100% believe, like, without a doubt, that's James Gunn. Cosmo and Kraglin, those are 100% James Gunn's notes. I loved it for the fact they didn't give those notes to the Guardians. They let the two side characters know. But if I heard "you're a bad dog" one more time, like it was just like, I get the joke. Like it's funny because that's a dog and you say bad dog, but this one can talk. It was just like over, like continuing going, and I was just like, if this dog is a main feature point of this movie, like I'm gonna be pro like not owning dogs. Like I'm gonna be very angry. Like I was getting frustrated, but how little they're in the movie, it makes me just like roll my eyes and move on.
Yeah.
Adam Warlock, again, I'm not a comics guy. I bet there is a comic person out there that can tell me this stuff, but it's a weird choice because similar powers to like a Vision or like even a Vision mixed with Captain Marvel, like all world beater, can beat, like runs through people left, right, and center, but a blubbering idiot to the point that I was like, did you and Drax switch brains from two to now? Because he's like, he does these, and they're supposed to be funny moments. Like I know people are supposed to be like, oh, look how blubber, but I'm like, God, why are you in this movie? Like, I don't need an idiot character to play a bad guy on this one. Like we have a great villain. To add like a golden version of it just seemed very forced. I would rather him just try to be like an enforcer and then see the good, you know, after that situation happens on the Alter Earth. Like he sees what happens and then turns his motives against him and is just like a killer for the opposite side. That makes sense. But giving him a voice and giving him chances to talk and to do the stuff, I just felt like, and they do that moment at the end where he like pats and stuff. I get it. Like you're not like, I'd rather Drax like remove his hand at the end. Like, you know, no, part of this. Like, you know,
no, yeah, those definite things seemed like the James Gunn-isms that I think kind of annoyed me. Like the ones I like this movie has like a full like built world with like half human, half animal hybrids, and I'm just like, I want to spend more time in this. Like, this is fun. This is wacky. This is cool. Like the main villain has like this one like half man, half rhino henchman, and I'm like, that's cool. I like that. The like weird stand-up bit humor is the stuff I could kind of go without. Some of it hits, but a lot of it kind of does miss.
I also thought it was very cheap. So Guardians is the one thing that's out there, right? It's the one thing that like bends all like, we're not in New York City, we're not in we're not in these San Francisco's, like we're not in these traditional places, right? To go to a place called alternate Earth or like whatever, when you can go to like a different planet that's cosmic and crazy, like why are we not in somewhere other than Earth again? Like it just seemed very like, we're not in actual Earth, we're in this opposite Earth that are not human. I just felt like it was so just forced at that point, like, and boring. Like I wanted the Guardians of the Galaxy to be in the galaxy, not a place that looks exactly like Earth. It was a nitpick. It's a very nitpick, but I believe why. Like it's just weird.
So yeah, I'll admit that part didn't really bother me that much, but I totally get what you are saying. Like you want this franchise to go in a way like balls to the wall with its ideas and like really show like the imagination of the creator. The one nitpick, if I were to be honest, of like certain locations, I am so done. And Thor: Love and Thunder kind of does this as well. Can we stop with like the all white pristine production sets? Because it's starting to annoy my eyes. Like there is a part where they go to like a location where they're like trying to get like information on a guy that can get them like a map, and just it's so pristinely like white, and it's like I'll take it over like the alternative of like not being able to see everything of just like putrid gray, but like there's got to be a middle ground. Like am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I agree with you. I agree. Like there's just so much like I don't know why those decisions are made. Like I guess if people are falling asleep in the movie, it's supposed to jolt them back awake to see like, oh, that's some bright ass shit. Like let's see that. But yeah, I don't know why those decisions are. But like I want MCU to do something more creative. Like I understand if people watch this movie and get frustrated because Thanos' plan is to wipe out humanity. Ego's plan is to basically wipe out humanity and like switch it to a different spot. This one is to wipe out and restart again. Like, we get it. The mega plan of wiping out the Earth, I ain't for it at this point. Can we do something different at this point? But I liked, for the most part, where it was.
No, I absolutely did like it for the most part as well. Before we head into final ratings, there's one last point I want to ask you about. The Guardians movies are synonymous with their soundtracks. What did you think about the soundtrack to this movie?
Surprisingly, so I'm a fan of like old music. So the first Guardians hit so hard for me.
Yeah.
I think the second soundtrack was okay. I didn't love it, but they had such a hard thing to achieve because the music in the first one's a character. Like how people say Batman Gotham is a character. The music is a character. It's built like into. It's such a part of Chris or Star-Lord that it is his entire mood. It's where he is, and like they give a hint back to in this movie about it. But this one, I love the like change up a little bit. It's not as on brand as I wish it was. It was a little on the nose, like. No Sleep Till Brooklyn, those moments. Like I was like, oh, okay. But overall, I liked it. It's way better than what Thor: Love and Thunder tried to do with their music. Like because the music's not a part of Thor at that point, so they just did it because it's the Guardians thing. Any music that you put in, it has to have music in Guardians, or it makes no sense to me. So with them, it doesn't add up fully to me. Like. Where he gets the increase of music. Like, he's so big on this tape. He's been his entire life on the tapes, and now he's got a Zune, I guess that is, or like some old, like, Microsoft iPod. It's fine, but it doesn't, it just feels like we started old, we went like 70s, 80s, now we're going 90s. Like, it aged with the movies, and I don't think that means as much to Star-Lord as it would the original because he didn't get those tapes from it. So I thought like it's just like hammer on the head, but like Star-Lord likes his music, got to be in there. So I didn't hate the music choices. I just felt like they didn't explain to me the progression of his music love because he doesn't love music. He loves those songs because of family and what it led to.
Yeah.
So.
So I definitely think this was probably my least favorite soundtrack of the three. I think it has some hits. Sure. I think the opening Needle Drop is incredible. It's one of my favorite songs. Yes. It reminded me of when I was a youth. I would get out of a movie theater and I'd just walk around the parking lot just listening to that song. I probably creeped some people out.
Great opening song. Great.
It's excellent. But yeah, other than that, like there were a few moments. I know I've had some friends say they loved the closing Needle Drop, which I think it's fine. I'm just not as into like.
Whoa, can you help me? I don't know.
Okay, so this movie closes with Florence and the Machine. It's like the 2000s bands, and I totally get like if you're a fan of that band. I'm not like the biggest fan of them, but like I get it. But yeah, I definitely think this soundtrack was a little less memorable and didn't quite have like the thematic feel of it, especially the first one.
That helps me so much. They're all sitting around. So what they want me to believe in this movie is that everybody has the same music knowledge that Peter Quill has.
That is a good
point.
Where
they're sitting across, it's a cutscene, I think it is, but it's like, Garth Brooks is my favorite. And then like they almost have to like, I wish they would have all turned and just winked to the camera to let you know, hey, you remember this song? But when they play Come and Get Your Love, like at the very end, I love this one. Guys, shut up. Like,
I like that.
I understand, but you can't tell me you're having a musical discussion with a group that doesn't know music.
That's
like it's just a weird force. Like we're Guardians. If you want to remember one thing, we're about music. Those are nitpicks. They don't ruin the movie for me. They just eye roll moments. So I'm like, come on, like we don't need
that. That is totally fair. Like it doesn't bother me, but I totally get how like those could irk you, and I understand. Closing out, final ratings. We review movies on a scale here from 0 to 10 videotapes. 0 out of 10 is an abomination. One that makes you physically ill watching it. When you think about it, it makes you pain. It gives you physical pain, and it's going to stick with you for a long time, but not for the good reasons. And 10 is an incredible movie. It is one that is going to stick with you for all the right reasons. It reminds you why you love movies in the first place. Cody, on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, what would you give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
I'm at 8. I'm at 8. I could see it going down or up. It's going to be a rewatch. It's going to see how it hits me on a rewatch where I really feel. But like, I have complaints, but they're very minor complaints because James Gunn, 1, won me back. 2, gave me my Guardians back. Like, gave me the non-stand-up special. And this movie has so much heart. Like, it's hard to watch, like, scenes, and I didn't think this movie could do it. There's some parts that are nitpick, which would be a spoiler, but, like, overall, it's solid. It's a super solid movie. It's a great one to kick off the summer season. Like, great.
Well, Mr. Newberry, cool news. We are in lockstep because I'm also giving it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, there are some complaints here. This is not like the top tier of MCU, but I think it's easily one of the best ones I think we've gotten in a little while. It totally reminded me why I love these characters, and I think it brought their story to a very satisfying conclusion. If you care about the Guardians or the MCU at all, I don't feel like I need to tell you to go see this in a theater, but I do think it is worth seeing it in a theater. And if this is the last time we see these characters, I think this is a very, very satisfactory conclusion. So before you get out of here, Cody, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. It's kind of leading into the next segment of the show. I'm going to be talking about the entire slate of summer movies with one Kurt Kawakowski.
The man that loves a blockbuster. What a great guest you got.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm very excited for that. But I just wanted to ask you, what is your most anticipated movie of the summer movie season this year?
Oh, crap. You put me on the spot. Because this is the funny thing. I think the show is great. I think the show does, but I don't watch a ton of it because I'm not the new release guy. Like, I don't watch a ton of movies. Like in the theater as much as I want to. If I had to say, I don't even know what's coming out to be. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Is Mission Impossible coming out in the
It
summer?
is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's Mission Impossible. And without a bullet. I think where they're building, they have me completely in. So I'm so excited for those. Like, the last 3, since 3 has just been banger after banger. So I'm fully ready for that one.
Saw that trailer again before Guardians 3, and that trailer gets me hyped every single time.
It's the only time I've ever hyped to see a part 1 in anything, to be honest.
No,
because I hate part 1s, but I think I'm trusting them because part 2 is probably going to be even more crazy. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Cody, thank you for coming on the show. I love, honestly, talking movies with you. And I think it was a really, really fun discussion we had. Is there anything you want to plug before you leave tonight?
Well, I do YLF on Wednesdays. I do Roundtable once a month. And we do Movie Melee, which is trivia. And enjoy Grumpy Kirk talk about summer movies.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Cody. He's actually backstage right now. Would you like to stream in
Sure.
Say anything? Kirk, not to put you on the spot, Mr. Newberry would like to say something to you before we start our next segment.
He's muted, so he doesn't know how to use his mute button either. I just think it's funny that you bring Kirk on to talk about summer movies, which he's going to be like, oh my God, these movies that saved movie theaters are garbage. Go watch Japanese cinema.
Okay.
I like the dissenting opinion sometimes.
Okay, let me ask you something, Pace, so we still got Cody here.
Yeah.
40 minutes. Is this by far your longest review so far?
40 minutes. Coho went a weird amount of time on Shazam Fury of the Gods, but this is probably up there.
But because I'm going to say, Cody likes to criticize Scott Harvey or Jake Marangoni for being a little long-winded, but I'm sitting backstage here waiting for my time to come up. Like, oh, quarter after, 20 after, we'll be ready to go.
We're talking about a movie. He asked the questions. I answered them. What do you want me to do?
How long did it take to answer? No, that's the problem.
Oh, okay. Hey, the writer's strike is going to look real bad on this Guardians 3. I can't wait till you look. Oh, gosh. You practice raising your son that has the best paced movie as Revenge of the Sith.
This is the greatest episode of Cinemaster review ever, and I have a man that met translate. Cody, you're a beautiful man. Thank you for coming on tonight. This has been incredible.
Bye.
Bye. Always a pleasure to talk to Cody, but it's also a pleasure to talk with my next guest, Kirk. Kirk, I kind of surprised you there, but
right.
It was a request from my other guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. How are you doing, Payson?
I'm doing good. Yeah. When I had this idea, there were a few people I had in mind, but you were legit the first person that came to my mind, because I think that the fun thing about you is you often see like the negatives that some other people don't see about like upcoming movies when like the hype train is just in full effect. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about that.
I appreciate that you see that as a positive.
No, absolutely.
Most people don't.
Fair. So I say we just jump right into it if you're down to jump right into it.
Definitely.
So the first movie coming out this summer is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We already watched it. Kirk, did you see Guardians this weekend? And if so, could you just give like real quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I saw it. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it's honestly at the point now where it's kind of just like the par for the course for MCU. I thought, I mean, I know you don't go into spoilers too much, but I think there was some like kind of forced and teased emotion there that didn't pay off for me. And it's my problem with it is more, it wasn't so much a Guardians problem as an MCU problem at this point. But I mean, I didn't hate myself being there. It was a little long, but it was still an all right time.
Absolutely. Well, going into the next week, May 12th, we have quite a few smaller movies coming out. Of course, the second movie the week of the summer, you never really get like something too huge because the last MCU movie is still devouring certain things. We got movies like Hypnotic, which is Robert Rodriguez's next film. We have Blackberry, the story of like the creation of the Blackberry. And we have, I think definitely our most anticipated movie this summer, Book Club, The Next Chapter. Kirk, of those three movies, is there anything you specifically want to talk about?
Well, as far as Book Club goes, I'm just glad that Jane Fonda's obituary won't read final film 80 for Brady. I think that's the best thing that's going to come out of Book Club. But no, I'm actually kind of excited for Hypnotic. I had never even heard of this movie. I saw the trailer when I went to see The Covenant, and it's just a rare thing these days to like find out about a movie in the movie theater. So I'd never heard of it. I saw this, and it just looks like a throwback to like 90s, like kind of like semi-generic action movies. Just like you get a star, you get a director, you get a big idea, and you just go with it and see what happens. So it's kind of fun seeing those movies make a comeback. So that's definitely what I want to check out next weekend.
No, yeah. I think Robert Rodriguez, love it or hate him, he's one of the more interesting directors I think working still. And I think his do-it-yourself mentality is always just something that is admirable, whether or not the product is good. And I'm excited for it. We've been getting so many movies about just like the history of like a certain product, whether it's Air, whether it's Tetris. We have the Flaming Hot Cheetos movie coming out, but I think Blackberry looks fun specifically because it looks like smaller and grimier than those other movies. And as a huge It's Always Sunny fan, I'm excited to see Glenn Howard take a dramatic role.
Yeah, I honestly haven't seen too much about this yet, but yeah, like you said, just the idea of, hey, here's a thing, and like that stream of movies have been coming out. Like, here's a thing, and here's a story behind it. Yeah, I think, like you said, like that gritty, like kind of like everything maybe not on the up and up kind of thing looks kind of interesting.
Absolutely. Well, I say we go on to our next weekend, that being May 19th, 2020. That being May 19th. I don't know why I keep saying the year, because we do not have to say the year because it's 2023, obviously. The big movie coming out that week is Fast X, the 10th, count it, 10th entry in the Fast and Furious franchise, as well as Paul Schrader's new film, Master Gardener. Kirk, do you have any thoughts on Fast X or Master Gardener? You can say whatever you want about any one of those specific movies.
I'm really sad for Rita Moreno that her obituary is not going to read final film 80 for 80. But no, yeah, it's. I mean that commercial or that trailer cracked me up because it looked like a fan cut. Like if you told me no one in this movie was ever actually in the same room with anybody else in the movie, I would completely believe you. But no, Master Gardener, I'm really excited for. Master Gardener looks really cool. Just excited for new Paul Schrader coming out. This is his first movie off of First Reformed, right? He hasn't done anything since, right?
No, he did a really underrated movie not enough people talk about called The Card Counter with Oscar Isaac. He played.
Okay, I thought that was before First Reformed.
Yeah. He plays like a. Have you seen The Card Counter?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's excellent. He plays like this guy who was a former military torture operator, and he's essentially just become a pro at like going to casinos and card counting. Typical Paul Schrader stuff. And yeah, it makes you hate your life like most Paul Schrader movies, but in the best way possible.
That's what this looks like. Like Joel Edgerton looks really good, and he looks like that kind of like very typical Paul Schrader hero. You know, he's a gardener who's like secretly a hitman. And he takes his girl under his wing, and like the relationship between them, and like it's going to be about her like drawing out his story and like making him either better or worse, however it's going to go. But just it looks like a really solid like old style Paul Schrader movie.
Yeah, Paul Schrader is one of the more like unhinged filmmakers, like still working today, and I think it's awesome. He's still working today. Like, if you want, like, if Scorsese's opinions on like the current movie world bothers you, do not look up what Paul Schrader has to say on any real life issue because he definitely has some thoughts. And yeah, Fast X. I don't have the hatred for this franchise like you do, but yeah, it looks like a lot, and I'm excited to know this is going to be one of the last ones. Regardless, it definitely looks like it's essentially become Vin Diesel's like vanity project, as if it hasn't been for the last few films. But hey, if he keeps getting paid, have fun. I'll be here to review it in 2 weeks. So that's fun. May 26th.
Before we move on to move next week, Payson, have you seen anything about Moon Garden?
I have not. Can you talk to me about it?
Yeah, I just while I was waiting to come on, I was just looking up some stuff I hadn't heard of. I watched a trailer for this. Looks really cool. It's about a little girl, I guess. She's in a coma, and it's her journey, I guess, in her mind or imagination that she travels through as she's going through and hopefully eventually coming out of this coma. Has real Pan's Labyrinth kind of vibes. Like a real, it looks and feels like something Del Toro would do. It's an actual girl's can't be older than 5 or 6 actual years old, and it's her in this like dark fantasy world. There's a lot of stop motion animation. It just looks like really terrifying, but also kind of like heartwarming because it's like it looks like it's between her and her connection with her family. So I'd never heard of it. I just looked it up now. It looks really good.
See, that is why I love the summer movie season, because yes, there are a ton of blockbusters coming out, but I think people don't give credit that there are a lot of like indie movies that oftentimes go unseen, but when they hit, it's so much fun to discover them around this time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going into the next week of May 26th, we have Disney's live action remake of The Little Mermaid. And another movie I wanted to talk about, Nicole Hollister has a new movie called You Hurt My Feelings, starring Julia Louis-Dreyfus as a writer who learns that her husband secretly doesn't like her work. I'll be honest, this trailer I think looks really funny. What do you think about those two movies and any other movies that are coming out this week in particular?
Yeah, You Hurt My Feelings. That's the other one I had not heard of. I just watched the trailer a little bit ago, and I think it looks great. I'm a big Julia Louis-Dreyfus fan. I think she is just, I think she's never left her prime comedically. Like she's always funny. And I like kind of like that like a small stakes relationship story. It's all about them breaking up. Nobody's cheated on, at least from the trailer you can't tell. Nobody's cheated on anybody. Nobody's getting divorced. It's just she doesn't like my work, and how do we deal with that? So I kind of like that. Looks kind of sweet and still funny, and has a little bit of, with her in there. You're gonna have a little bit of edge to it. So I'm actually looking forward to this one now.
Yeah, and then The Little Mermaid, like it's a Disney live action remake. I was talking earlier about how I like I'm not a fan of like super pristine, super bright, showy movies, but I'll take it over the alternative, just like gray, murky looking cinematography. Yeah. This is what I was talking about. Like, that's my major complaint about regardless of Disney live action remakes, which I don't think are great, regardless, the movie just looks ugly. And am I alone on that? Like, it just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. The original was under 90. Like, what are we doing here?
The look of it is not good. Like, it looks, and I mean, it's The Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid was such a beautiful movie, just so much great animation, and again, we're not, but they do show. I mean, there's clips under the sea in the trailer, and it's all dark, and you just have that like little bit of light come through. Yeah, I mean, those photorealistic animals, I think, is just a mistake. They didn't learn that from Lion King. The length they didn't learn from Aladdin. They like doubled the length of Aladdin. Did nothing for it. So I don't know what they're adding, what they're stuffing in this movie. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be seeing. I know this is Little Mermaid is one of Kathy's favorite movies, so we'll definitely be seeing this. But I don't have high hopes.
No, I totally understand. Rob Marshall, not a director I'm particularly fond of. So they got to do that movie. And before we move on, I just want to point out another movie. Kandahar, Gerard Butler, fresh off of Plane, a new movie 4 months later. The Gerard Butler verse is in high effect. Joe Hipsterson says, new songs to try and grab a Best Original Song Oscar. Yeah, they probably will. They'll probably get a nomination.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. Going on to June, a movie I'm very excited to talk to you about. June 2nd. Honestly, a lot of movies I'm really excited for. The biggest movie coming out this week is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, and also coming out, maybe easily my most anticipated indie movie. It's a film called Past Lives. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to watch the trailer for this. I'll just tell you what this one's about. It's about two friends who grew up in Korea, and one of them 20 years earlier had moved away to America, and they definitely had feelings for each other in high school. This 20 years later, she is now in a very committed relationship. She's very happy, but this guy is coming back to America to essentially visit her, and the whole movie seems to be about it. It looks like a conversation piece, kind of in the vein of Brief Encounter, and trying to see if maybe they still have feelings for each other or whether they just want to move on. I think this looks like one of the best movies, not just of the summer, of the year. Have you had a chance to watch this trailer?
I haven't seen the trailer, but I have heard a lot of talk about it, and it sounds like it's really good. I'll definitely look more into this one. I haven't gotten to delve too deep into the research on it, but yeah, it definitely sounds interesting. Who's the director on that?
It's a new director. Her name is Celine Song. I believe this is her first film. It's either her first film or second film, but her first film was super, super small.
Sure.
But yeah, I just want to get your take on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I know you've never made it super quiet that you in no way hate this movie, but you've never understood the widespread love of it. Can you just let us know what you think about Across the Spider-Verse?
I mean, I'm looking. Here's the thing. When I was going through the schedule, prepping for the show, the one thing I saw in the summer is potential. There's a lot of potential here. A lot of stuff that can go right, also a lot of stuff that can go wrong. I'm looking forward to this movie. I think it's going to be fun. I think, I'll be honest with you, between Spider-Verse, MCU, everything else, I'm kind of multiversed out.
Absolutely.
I mean? I'm kind of burnt out on the whole multiverse concept. It still looks fun. The thing is that we're getting that all we get so far is there's a bunch of Spider-Man. We really don't have a story. We don't have any kind of hook on it. It just look at all the Spider-Man. So I'm reserving judgment. I assume I'll enjoy it. I assume I will enjoy it as much as most people do. But again, it's a wait and see thing, because other than there's a million Spider-Man, I know nothing about this movie.
No, absolutely. I'm definitely coming into it with my personal love of Spider-Verse. I definitely was one of those people that really, really got into that film. But yeah, you are saying, to be fair, the trailers just kind of show more and more Spider-Man. But I think I'm coming at it from a perspective of, if you give me more Spider-Verse, I am personally going to be very, very happy. But I do hope we do get something new with this movie. Just before we move on, another quick movie I want to talk about, The Boogeyman. I think this is a really, I think the trailer for this was excellent. I really love hearing that they were going to put this 20th Century was going to put this straight to Hulu, and they watched the movie and they said, no, we are absolutely putting this in theaters, which is something that is always nice on my end to hear. Like, if it were up to me, I'd put everything in theaters, but I totally get you got to pick and choose in this semi-sad world we're living in now. But it's always nice to hear when a studio has faith in their movie to put it in theaters.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this other than it's a Stephen King adaptation. I don't know if I've ever read the story or not. I probably have, and I've read so many of his short stories, I probably just don't remember it. But I love Stephen King short stories, and I love when he takes simple concepts like the Boogeyman and puts his own spin on it. So just having that pedigree to it, I'm already looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on to the next weekend, that being June 9th. The only major release we have coming out this month is Transformers Rise the Beast. Man, there are a few movies. You want to talk about potential? There are a few movies I am more mixed on than this one right here. I want to get excited for it. I think Bumblebee was a really good way to take that franchise. This movie does not look like it's completely Michael Bay-ist. It definitely feels like it's stepping back into that mold. Word of mouth is this one isn't the greatest. I hope I'm wrong. I hope, because I enjoy Transformers and I really love Beast Wars. Like, that is easily my favorite version of Transformers. But like, what do you feel about this movie, Kirk?
I'm kind of mad at myself for how excited I've let myself get about it.
Okay, fair. I like this.
No, I really like Bumblebee. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Bay Transformers, the franchise at all. But I really like Bumblebee. Like you said, I think that was a good turn to take. I think it really started getting back to the heart of Transformers. It brought more characters. They were better. They looked better. They all looked like individual Transformers, not just random piles of talking metal like they did in the old movies. Like, every character looks different and unique, and it looks like they're carrying this over. You're getting more of those type of characters. I'd never watched Beast Wars, but I think like the look of those Transformers is great. So I don't mind them bringing them in at all. I grew up in the 80s, and I watched the cartoons. The cartoons were just bananas. So when the movies get a little bananas, I don't mind, because it's like, that's getting back to the roots. So when they bring crazy stuff like Animal Transformers, fine. Again, another one, a lot of potential, could be great, could tank, but I mean, I think Bumblebee was a start in the right direction. I think this is a direct sequel to Bumblebee, right?
Yes, yeah. Not a sequel. I'm actually not sure, because it takes place in a completely different decade. Like, this one, they're
this is like 90s now, right?
Yeah, 90s now. But I do believe it does take place in the universe of Bumblebee. So yeah. So that I hope for the best with that one. Quick rant though. There's a really cool shot at the end of the last trailer where there's like this long take of these like Transformers fighting, and I saw on Twitter of people saying like kiss the Michael Bay action scenes goodbye. Where like I'll be honest, I've never enjoyed like the Michael Bay like Transformers action scenes of just close up, just metal punching each other. People were really like, this one tweet was really like saying like, we are now, you would never see like a long take action scene like this in the Transformers movies. And I just want to give a little rant. If your long take is 100% CGI, I'm sorry, you don't get props for being a really cool tracking shot, because that's not that okay, making a movie is hard. That is not like the Copacabana shot in Goodfellas. That is not the Children of Men car scene. I'm sorry, those are different things.
No, you're absolutely right. I saw those same things too, and I was like, maybe not. Like, I mean, it looks good, it looks fun, but it's not like it's not that same skill set that they're showing off, making that for sure.
All right, well, let's move into the next weekend of June 16th. A pretty big weekend when you look at blockbusters. We have, oh boy, talk about controversy. We have The Flash finally coming out after what seems like 10, 20 years now, as well as Pixar's new film, Elemental, and a new comedy called The Blackening. One other movie coming out, limited, but it expands wide, so we'll just talk about the next week. Out of those three movies, Kirk, which one, do you want to say anything about any of them?
What was the second one you mentioned? Did you say Elemental?
Yeah, Pixar's Elemental.
Okay, yeah. Elemental. I'm looking forward to again. That's going to be a family movie. Big summer for water themes. So that'll be good. The Blackening, obviously, I'm not the target audience.
Yes.
But I'm not I'm not a big fan of I think horror has been spoofed and parodied to death, and there's really no room to say anything else. I think this honestly looks like. I'm afraid this might be like the African American version of Bodies, 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 where it boils down to the Twitter speak throughout the whole thing. So that for the trailer, that's what worried me. But again, we'll see. And then the Flash, I feel bad for the Flash because this movie has been in production so long, and the concepts around so long, that this movie this is the first movie that had the idea of the multiverse, but coming out now, it's going to look like it ripped Marvel off completely. But no, I again, potential. You're bringing back Keaton. You're bringing the alternate reality Supergirl. You got multiple Flashes. Could be a lot of fun. The outside controversy notwithstanding, could be a good movie. Who knows though? It's DCEU. Take it with a grain of salt.
Can you remind me, what city is Michael Keaton from again?
He is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
There we go, baby. There we go. But yeah, The Flash. When I look at this movie, I'm like, everything I've been hearing about it, people have been saying it's good behind the scenes. I think the best way to look at it as just let the old universe die, and I hope it goes out on a high note. It's one that I should be more excited for. I just can't with all the news surrounding it and how long we've had to wait. So yeah, there's that. Elemental trailers have looked fine for Elemental, but at the same time, it's an original idea from Pixar. I'm always going to be excited for that. Don't be surprised if it just is an absolute slam dunk. The Blackening is a movie that I think is either going to be really, really funny and really clever, or just I don't like using this word too much, but a borderline cringe fest. Do you have those movies where you like them, but then you talk with your friends and they like it to such an obnoxious degree that it makes you like it less? That is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies for me.
Okay.
I enjoyed that movie, but I talked to too many people that would put that as one of the best movies of last year, and I'm like, you're driving me crazy. I'm sorry.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but yeah, I think it was a little overrated in some circles.
No, absolutely. Well, if you're down, let's move on to June 23rd, 2023. Like I said, the movie that was going to be have a limited release in June 16th is going to be releasing wide, that being Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, as well as the new comedy from Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings. And if this is what I think it is, there's one other movie that I want to look more into, but yeah, of those two movies, Asteroid City, No Hard Feelings, do you have any thoughts on either of those?
Yeah, Asteroid City, I'm really excited about. It's Wes Anderson, and I watching the trailers, I love the idea of him doing something sci-fi centric. I think when he takes like bigger concepts like that, with Isle of Dogs, or his animated stuff, or even Life Aquatic, you have some of those more fanciful elements, and I think him doing something like this, I don't know how, you can't tell from trailers how deep it gets into the sci-fi or how far it goes into the sci-fi, but I kind of hope he dabbles in it a little bit, because I think it'll be really interesting to see his take on all that.
No, absolutely. When I saw the trailer for Asteroid City, it was one that I didn't adore per se. I think weirdly when it comes to trailers, I'm a little Wes Anderson out. Because all Wes Anderson trailers are just him showing the aesthetic is back, guys. We got the cast, we got the aesthetic. Which when you're going for a trailer, you don't get too much, but at the same time, I like that aesthetic. I usually like that cast. I like the performance. So I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this movie. It's weirdly, I'm not as excited for it as I am for other Wes Anderson films in the past, but I still am fairly looking forward to it. No Hard Feelings. I didn't think the trailer was that funny. No. I respect that you have Apple trying to put out a big studio comedy, or Sony putting out a big studio comedy like this in theaters, but yeah.
I have a bad feeling that the best jokes are in the trailer. It feels like that kind of movie to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, seeing Jennifer Lawrence do something different like this could potentially be interesting. But I feel like it has the feel of a very one-note movie.
No, 100%. But yeah, the movie that weirdly caught my eye, it's a movie called Wonderwell. It is a coming-of-age fairy tale set between modern-day Italy and an imaginary realm just beyond. It follows a girl named Violet. I'm just reading the synopsis. But the reason it caught my eye, from the looks of it, this movie has been, it was made back in 2016 and has been on the shelf for 7 years. And the reason I know it was made in 2016, Carrie Fisher is credited in this movie, which I'm like, okay. Not sure how good it is, but I'm slightly intrigued, I'll be honest.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of this movie. But yeah, modern day Italy fairy tale setting. I'm kind of sold on just that. I think, that could be very cool.
No, absolutely. Well, going into the last weekend of June, oh boy, I am very excited to let the world hear your thoughts on this one. We have a new DreamWorks movie, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, as well as the fifth and final entry, if Harrison Ford is to be believed, in the Indiana Jones franchise, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Kirk, you were one of the first people that was openly skeptical about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And I'll be honest, I still have I'll explain my high hopes in a second. I still have hopes for the movie, but you have definitely turned me into a bit of a more skeptic on this movie. Why don't you let the world know how you feel?
I want this movie to be great. I hope it's great, but I don't know how you cannot be skeptical going into this. I mean, it's just that makes no sense to me. I mean, we're coming off of Crystal Skull, which was, not a lot of people like Crystal Skull. Indiana Jones is 15 years older now. Harrison Ford is 15 years older now. We don't have Steven Spielberg. So, I mean, we're moving. I wasn't a big fan of moving his timeline up. I think he's very much a product of that 30s and 40s World War II era. I didn't like bringing him in the 50s. We're going even further now. So again, it could be great. We got Sala back, which I'm excited about. I think he was a component that should have been in the last movie. I love that. That's one of my favorite side characters. I hope he's not just in it for a cup of coffee and, wanders off after a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Mads Mikkelsen, I know a lot of people are a big fan of him, but I've seen that guy phone it in a lot of franchise movies. He's not always, these kind of movies, he's not always, at his best. So I want it to be great. I will be very happy if it's great, and if people say you were nuts for being skeptical, I hope they do. But I don't know how you can't take this movie with a grain of salt, considering where we're at. It's 2023. It's Harrison Ford. It's not Steven Spielberg. And the last movie was tanked really bad.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways, I think, from what you said that I think are probably the best points are, one, yeah, we're coming off Crystal Skull. Most people did not like that movie. That was a sequel that came out 20 years after the last one. This one is coming out 15 years after that one. And yeah, like you said, Harrison Ford is in his late 70s now. So I get the old action star is kind of in now, but we're talking elderly action star at this point. I don't want to be ageist, but I'm skeptical to see how they pull that off. And not only that, but with this being Disney, and one of the major complaints about Crystal Skull was going in, Spielberg kept on saying, we are not going to CGI this movie. We're not going to prequelify Indiana Jones. And the first shot is a CGI prairie dog just coming out of the hole. I was 10 at the time, so I didn't have that critical eye, but I bet I bet you saw that and you were first shot. I could only imagine. The one thing I will say is James Mangold is someone who the majority of the time hits. So I want to believe in him. The trailers, every time they play that music, it always suckers me back in. Nostalgia can be a poison, but it can be a fun poison at times. I want to hope, but I totally understand. Like,
Yeah, and I'm rooting for it. I will be in the I will be cheering in the front row if it's good. But I can't help but be skeptical about this. And yeah, Mangold's great. Mangold is a good director. He's done a lot of great work. But he's not Steven Spielberg. And we'll see how he picks up from here. It's just weird after all these years to have somebody else at the helm of these movies.
no, I'm right there with you. And then for Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, have you seen this trailer?
I have.
Looks awful. I'll just say it. I think it looks awful, but like maybe it'll be good.
Yeah, I like the concept. I just like that. Like, I love the concept of taking like fanciful things and putting them in the real world. Anytime I'm kind of a sucker for that. So anytime I see that, I'm like, yeah, that could be fun. And again, this is another one that Kathy is going to drive me, take me to, because she loves mermaids and the whole story. And kind of flipping that, so like we have Little Mermaid coming out early this summer, and now we're flipping the script where like the Little Mermaid character is the bad guy, which I think is kind of interesting. So we'll see. Probably won't be great, but
no, I definitely think that's fun. Well, why don't we move into July of 2023? I'm just going to make the banner real quick. The first weekend, that being July 7th, we have Joyride, a new comedy from Ashley Park and Stephanie Sue, as well as Insidious: The Red Door. I believe that would be the 5th entry in the Insidious franchise. Any thoughts on either of those movies?
watch the trailer for Joyride. It looks funny. It looks good.
I agree.
Like, I mean, it could be like a new Bridesmaids type of movie. It has that kind of feel to it. So yeah, it has. I'm sorry, Blake, on her name from Everything
Stephanie.
Everywhere. So yeah, she looks really good in it. The whole cast looks great. So it looks like just a really fun ensemble comedy. And Insidious, I'm not like I haven't been following that franchise that closely, but it looks like if you like the Insidious movies, you're probably gonna like this one, because it looks like it's a lot more of the same, for better or worse.
No, yeah, I share your thoughts. I think Joyride looks really funny. I hope it's good. Insidious: The Red Door, I've really I don't believe I've seen an Insidious movie, so I'll probably be watching a few of them at least before I see this one. But yeah, fairly calm weekend probably after Indiana Jones the week before. But the week after, on June 12th, getting that special Wednesday release, we have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, as well as a really cool looking indie comedy called Theater Camp. Do you have any thoughts on either of those films?
Theater Camp, I haven't seen too much about. Mission Impossible, I'm excited for. Like I for a long time I kind of checked out of that franchise, and the last couple ones I kind of came back to it, and it's been fun. I don't know why is it part 1, because it hasn't, like, at least like the last 3 or 4 movies have been kind of an ongoing story. So I don't know why this is part 1.
I believe because I think it's been very heavily hinted at that this one and the next 2 are going to be the last ones.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's like one big story. Okay. Yeah, and again, I mean, this is another one where if you like Mission Impossible, you're going to get more Mission Impossible. It's a very Mission Impossible-y movie. So, yeah, should again, it's not something I'm chomping at the bit to get at, but when it rolls around that weekend, I'm probably going to go see it.
No, yeah, I'm very excited for it. Tom Cruise just weirdly makes movies feel. Tom Cruise does, in my opinion, what The Rock is trying to do, where he's weirdly kind of made himself like a brand and makes his movies feel bigger. Where The Rock tries to do that, but doesn't always succeed in that. But yeah, I think it's just Cruise has just become very selective on what he does nowadays. And yeah, I'm very, very excited for this movie. I think it looks great. But yeah, Theater Camp, I heard news about it out of Sundance. Just looks like a really fun movie about like an improv comedy troupe, and I'm very excited for that. I hope it's as good as people say. I know Scott saw it when he bought the Sundance Pass. But yeah, let's just move in. Oh boy, July 21st, 2023. Barbie, Oppenheimer. Barbie, Oppenheimer, The War of Us All. Who's going to win? Kirk, what do you think about both movies?
I am excited for both of them. Yes. I know, like, I'm kind of known for giving Nolan a hard time, but I'm excited for this movie. I think this is something that is right up his alley. I think taking a historical figure in a historical time period and letting him loose and something like that with such a grand scale of what the story is, I think is really good for him. And I think this can be a return to form for him, especially this looks a lot more character driven than some of his more recent stuff. And I think, like, I'm a big fan of his older stuff that is more character driven, Memento, Insomnia, The Prestige, stuff that's really character based. It looks like this has that. So I'm again, even though Nolan's not my favorite guy, I think this could be potentially one of his best.
Yeah, this feels like a return to form for Nolan for me. Like, I think the trailers have been incredible for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope it's as good as it looks. It feels like I love seeing these historical stories that have just this big feeling to it, and that is what this one feels like. Nolan is one of those few directors that still, when he releases a movie, regardless of what you think, it feels like an event. Like, it feels like it feels like an event that you would have for, unfortunately, the only thing that get those are franchise movies nowadays. Like, Nolan still has that prestige to his name, and I'm very excited for that. Barbie, I have loved everything Greta Gerwig has done to this point. I have faith in her. I still think it's I still remember when I heard she was doing a Barbie movie, I was like, really, this is what we're doing? But if it's as good as what people are saying, I am excited. I have faith in her, and I have faith that she's writing it with Noah Baumbach, with her current partner. Yeah, I'm excited for both movies. We can be excited for both
Exactly.
movies.
Yeah. I will see both these movies. Barbie is. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I love Greta. I love everything she's done so far. And I do have faith in her. And I'm just really curious to see where the story goes, because with it's an IP like this with a director like that. Like when Amy Schumer was attached to this, however many years ago, in your head what that movie was. You know exactly what you're going to get with that. With this, I'm really interested to see where it goes, because I don't think she's going to be like, her and Bombeck are going to want to go deeper than, Barbie's, unrealistic bodies, stereotype stuff like that, just hitting that joke over and over and over again, like Schumer would have done. So I think she's going to, do something more creative with it. That said, it is a movie based on a toy. It is an IP. Mattel was looking at the script. Mattel had people on set. That's what makes me nervous, because I can't imagine them saying after 60 years or however long it's been, we're finally going to make a Barbie movie, but we're not going to make a Barbie movie to sell Barbie dolls to 10-year-old girls. That's what makes me nervous. So where's the balance there going to be? So I don't know if they're going to be able to be as subversive as they might want to be. But on the other hand, I feel like if they couldn't do that, the two of them wouldn't be involved. So I'm very curious to see how that all balances out.
No, absolutely. I think those are two excellent points, and I hope they can find like a balance between the two, both Gerwig and Warner Brothers and Mattel.
Yeah.
But yeah, going into the last weekend of July 28th, we have the new Haunted Mansion movie, as well as a new horror movie called Talk to Me. Have you seen the trailers for either of these two movies?
Yeah, I saw the trailer for Haunted Mansion, and this is another one where I think this has the potential to be really good. I think if you've ever ridden Haunted Mansion, it's a really good blend of like kid-friendly family entertainment and some like legitimately scary stuff. And I think it hit that, like, if they do it right, they can hit that perfect blend of like family level horror. Like, you can bring the family, but it's still legitimately scary. The trailer looks good, so I have high hopes. They have a lot of the Easter eggs and stuff like that, which I think is fun for these. But no, I think this could be, again, it could fall completely on its face. But I'm cautiously optimistic for this one.
No, yeah, I saw that trailer and I am very, very excited. The early 2000s one is one I watched a lot as a kid. Guilty pleasure of mine. I'm sure if I rewatched it again, I would not have the same high thoughts that I had when I was a child. But yeah, I think this one's probably going to be a lot better. We were talking about Bodies earlier. Talk to Me looks like this year's Bodies, and I hope it's good, is all I'm going to say.
It's crazy to me that this is an A24 movie.
Yeah.
like, and I mean, it's A24 horror, so that's the one thing I'm holding out. But like, if you cut that A24, you know, uh, uh, logo off the front of the trailer, I would think this is just Blumhouse. You know what I mean? Like the latest Blumhouse release. It looks very much like that. So, and it has some creepy moments and some interesting things. So it could be good. But I'm very like nervous that it's just going to fall in like to the generic jump scare territory.
No, 100%. Well, we are 3/4 of the way done, but we are into our final month of August of 2023. And the first week of August is August 4th, that being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the new animated TMNT movie, as well as, let's go, Kirk. Let's go. The Meg 2, the Trench, the sequel to the Meg is what we've all been waiting for. Are you pumped for the Meg 2? Let's go.
You know what? A little bit.
Okay.
I didn't hate the Meg one. And I think this looks cool. Like it has like a little bit of a Lost World spin on it. So like the addition of the extra like Jurassic Parky type stuff will be fun. But no, it's just like it's like the perfect summer action kind of silly movie. Doesn't take itself too seriously, but like you know, at least based on the first one, it's like it's just not. It doesn't go into like Sharknado territory, but it knows exactly what kind of movie it is, and I can appreciate that. It's Statham on a jet ski fighting a giant shark. So, I mean,
that's the thing. I remember walking into the first Meg, and I had the same feeling that you did, where I was like, you know what, this is just going to be a dumb, fun summer action movie. I'm excited, and it was just kind of boring. Like that's my main problem with the first Meg is it never hits like the batshit insaneness that you want for a movie like that. I think it's because it takes itself a little too seriously. I hope this one is able to thread the line between not taking itself too seriously, but also I don't want it to devolve into that Sharknado-ness. So yeah, hopefully it finds a blend. As someone who is admittedly a pretty big fan of the Ninja Turtles franchise, I really like the animation style of this movie. So I hope it's good. The trailer entertained me enough. What did you think about this trailer, Kirk?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I was reading, I heard an interview with Seth Rogen, and the one thing he said that I thought was pretty cool, he said, you know, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they never really focus on the teenage part. And this movie's going to do that a little more, like they're a little younger, they're a little, you know, more inexperienced, and I think that's cool. Yeah, the animation looks great, and I'm excited. The voice cast looks pretty good. Just the fact they're cramming all those characters again. You know, going back to being a child of the '80s, having watched these cartoons. I'm sure you've seen the '80s cartoon. Yeah. It was insane, and the fact that and that's what I didn't like about the live action incarnations was they kind of shot away from that. But it looks like they're just rushing headlong into that and bringing, Baxter Stockman and Rocksteady and Bebop and all those guys in right off the bat, which should be pretty cool. It's going to be a crowded movie with all those characters, but it still should be fun.
No, I think of all the movies, I think this one probably has the biggest chance to surprise audiences the most. But yeah, going into the next weekend, August 11th, we have Challengers, which is Luca Guadagnino's new film with Zendaya. We have Gran Turismo, the adaptation of the video game franchise, as well as Last Voyage of the Demeter. Kirk, I know one of these movies you brought to my attention, and you've made me more excited about it. Why don't you tell the audience about it?
Yeah, Last Voyage of the Demeter, how you say it, is my most anticipated movie of the summer, mainly because it's from the director of Troll Hunter and the Jane Doe movie. Was named that movie, the Case of Jane Doe.
Let me look it up.
And he did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I just get really excited anytime this director brings something new out, and it's based on one chapter of Dracula. It's the voyage from Transylvania to London. And usually that's in the movies. I think that's usually kind of glossed over, but it's just the story focusing on that. Looks really cool. Looks like a lot of fun. This is the year of last year was the year of Pinocchio. This is the year of Dracula. Get another Dracula movie. I think this one looks a lot better. And yeah, I just love that kind of like tone. I love my favorite scene in the original Dracula is when the boat lands and Renfield's down there just with that like sick twisted grin on his face. He's doing the laugh and everything. So I'm excited to get kind of delve into that lore a little bit more. And like I said, I love the director, so I'm real excited about it.
Yeah, the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Autopsy, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this trailer looks awesome. It looks like the biggest thing I think he's done thus far, and I love giving directors that have done smaller movies like more money, but not necessarily putting them in like a big franchise scenario. So I think this looks really promising. On the other movies, Challengers, I like Luke Guadagnino. I really like Call Me by Your Name. I really liked Bones and All. I'm excited to see this one. Gran Turismo, when I heard this was an adaptation of the video game franchise, this was not what I thought. This is a movie about a guy, about a kid that plays a lot of Gran Turismo and just decides, you know what, I'm going to become a race car driver.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be good. Who knows?
It looks like a combination of Days of Thunder and Ready Player One. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And when I saw there's a Gran Turismo movie coming out, the one thing I did not expect in the trailer was based on a true story.
That's what I thought.
Okay. But no, I mean it looks like one of those like run of the mill inspirational sports movies, but with Gran Turismo players. So
did you see who's directing this movie?
I did not. Who is it?
Neil Blomkamp.
Are you serious?
Oh, how the mighty have fallen, unfortunately.
Oh, Neil.
I feel bad.
Me too. I'm gonna go see it now just to support Neil because
I know, because like District 9 I think is legit like a great movie.
It is,
like
yeah.
specifically from like a visual standpoint, like the fact that movie only cost $50 million and it still looks that good to this day. And then I never saw Elysium. Chappie just isn't that good. But I want to support him because he's definitely been through the ringer. Hopefully this is a one for them, one for him scenario. But going into August 18th, we have Blue Beetle, which is another movie in the DC franchise. I'm not sure how connected it's going to be to the old universe. We have White Bird, which was originally titled White Bird: A Wonder Story. I'm not sure if you remember this trailer. I will tell you this trailer if you do not remember it. As well as Strays, which might be my least favorite trailer I think I've seen so far this year. Do you remember the White Bird: A Wonder Story? Because I will explain it real fast.
No, I watched hopefully a newer trailer. I've not seen the Wonder trailer.
Okay, so Wonder, do you remember that movie that came out in like 2017 about the kid? He wears like a helmet because he has like a. So they're making a sequel to that movie called White Bird. It's about one of the bullies that I believe moves back to Poland, and he is hearing stories about from his grandmother who apparently survived the Holocaust. You never would have expected this is connected to Wonder in any way.
Wonder sequel? That's crazy.
Yes. When I saw this trailer, I was like, what am I looking at? Who knows if it'll be good? I'm genuinely just kind of like dumbstruck by it. Yeah, Strays I think looks awful. Blue Beetle I think I think Blue Beetle's a fun comic character, and I think the trailer looks good. What do you think about either of those three movies?
Yeah, White Bird, I watched the trailer. I mean, Helen Mirren's in it, so that's good. I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for like World War II era like survival stories. Looks like it's not going to be too like gritty. It's not going to get too deep into it. It's more feel good, but still could be interesting. Strays, yeah. I mean, this reminds me of the Happy Time Murders. It's like, hey, let's take a child's type of movie or show and put the F word and sex in it. It'll be hilarious because it's a child show, but it's not. And then Blue Beetle, gotta be honest, little comic book nerd here. I really want a Ted Kord Blue Beetle movie. Like, I mean, I love Blue Beetle and Beast of Gold from the 80s and 90s, like two of my favorite all-time favorite characters. So it kind of makes me sad that they waited this long and they're getting to the new character. Looks interesting. I mean, it kind of like apes off of Spider-Man and Miss Marvel now, where it's like, oh, I have superpowers. Look at me, I'm a teenager, I have superpowers. So hopefully it goes a little deeper than that. Susan Sarandon's the villain, I think, in this, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, it could be good. Again, is this old DC? Is this new DC? Where does this land on the
I don't know more. I'm sorry. Like, I'm still kind of confused. Same thing with like Aquaman.
Yeah.
Of Atlantis, whatever that movie's called, it's coming out later this year still apparently. But yeah, I hope it's good. Blue Beetle is a character I really liked from. I watched a lot of Batman Brave and the Bold as a kid back in the day, and that was this iteration, so I grew up on him. So I definitely hope it's good. But yeah, going into the last week of the summer, definitely usually a week where things start winding down a little. It's funny, Whitebird expands wide, but we also get a movie called Golda, which also features Helen Mirren, and she stars a woman named Golda Meir, who is known as the Iron Lady of Israel, who was faced during the Yom Kippur War. So, like, weirdly seems like similar themes with this and Whitebird. Interesting, we're opening them up fairly close, but sounds interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think I love Helen Mirren, and I loved her in The Queen. I thought she was fantastic in that. So her doing another biopic like this, I think this is a really good character for her to play. It's an interesting story. I don't know too much about it, but what I do know is pretty interesting, and I'm excited to learn more. So yeah, that's one I'll definitely be checking out at the end of the summer here.
Absolutely. Kirk, we made it all the way through summer, May through August of 2023. Always an exciting time for movies. This episode has gone on an hour and a half, the longest episode of Cinemaster's reviews we've had so far. To anyone that is still watching, to anyone that plans on watching this video, thank you so much. Kirk, before we head out, is there anything you want to plug?
I'll be around. I'll be on I'm on YLS this week. I'm hosting the Criterion draft. I think it's going to be good. You're on that one, Payson. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll be around Video Store, Multiplex, wherever they'll have me. Follow me on Letterboxd.
Yes, Letterboxd, best app in all of social media. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the Video Store. It helps us out a ton. Reminder, at the end of this month, Video Store Movie Club Episode 3, we are covering the Wachowskis' non-Matrix movies. We are covering Bound, Speed Racer, and Cloud Atlas, skipping Jupiter Ascending for semi-obvious reasons. So should be a very good time. Thank you all for watching this video tonight. Remember to come back next week for another exciting episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. I am Payson Johnson, the Cinemaster. Have a great night.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was Beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.